I know the Native Genius framework has played a big role in how you've worked and supported some of the people on your team as well. And so you mentioned like it shapes people's career conversations. And so when we're talking about belonging, I know we'll talk about retention in a little bit. How or have you applied that with your team, like in a way that customizes the conversations for their careers? What did that look like, and what's the impact been?
It's been a phenomenal impact. Let me start with how we've applied it. We literally trained everyone on the concept of Native Genius and had every one of our managers with their teams go through just an assessment. And by the way, we have 500 teammates all around the world, spread across 16 different geographic sites. So we literally had everyone go through the Native Genius framework, identify for you as an individual, what are those activities or skills or projects that make you light up? What are those activities specifically for you as an individual that might make you glaze over? And then embrace that, be unapologetic about it. And when you learn that, you become much more self aware, and your manager becomes more aware of your hidden gifts or strengths, or the things maybe you do well, but you don't enjoy. Again, this concept of glazing over. You get through it, but it's not something that is really powerful. So when you have hundreds of people around an organization, at the same time, all becoming extremely self aware on what energizes them and becoming aware of what demotivates them for whatever reason, you start connecting dots and you put people on the actual work that does light them up. And you give people grace or empathy if they're working on something that is making them glaze over. It's not in their light up zone of Native Genius. So, literally using it to connect people to different work and projects. That has led to a lot of internal mobility within my organization. People trying new roles. We call them gigs. You don't change your managers, you don't change your day job, but maybe you take on a short term assignment, like a gig, could be 1 week, 2 weeks, 30 days. And some of those have turned into real new roles. So when we have career conversations with our people, we use the Native Genius language and then align them. We've been on this journey for about a year now, and now that is that big impact. People actually moving into new roles in the company that are more aligned to that Native Genius. And to me, that is what it's all about. If you can align people, their passion, their interests, and now this Native Genius that they've discovered for themselves, and then align that to a next role and make sure that next role is full of those things. People just get so passionate, energetic, and they want to get even more excited. So that's a little bit of how we applied it, very hands on. Asked everyone to engage and commit to doing that searching and finding what makes them really light up, and then use that to our advantage to put people on certain assignments. And that has led to a lot of internal mobility. And I love internal mobility because you bring with you the context from your old or former team, former role to the new team. And that cross pollination is just so good for perspective, especially in a big company like Airbnb.
I'm in the process of like trying to identify the system here because there's a couple dominoes falling for me as you're sharing all these things and how they connect. Because the impact of having, the scale of 500 people across 60 different locations, uh, aligned and really excited about the work that they're doing. So to connect all the dots of how it's all working for me, giving people awareness in your team about what lights them up or what glazes them over, plus the commitment to action or doing something with that information and awareness, then equals more aligned work, which then also then results in like higher belonging scores because if people love what they're doing or they feel like people are helping move them towards something that helps them grow or helps them spend more time on the things that they love, equals I feel like I belong and I'm doing things that I care about. Amongst probably some other things, but to me that seems like okay, trying to identify the system of how those things work. To me, that's a really interesting outcome to connect all those things.
And there's a form of recognition in that system as well. There's a form of people being seen and heard, right? If you go on that journey to understand your gifts, and one of the key sub concepts in this is don't other yourself, meaning don't take it for granted. right? Don't just say, everybody does that. What I do isn't so special, right? You're othering yourself. So when you tell people, no, this is unique, you do have a gift, you should use it more often, it is a form of recognition. And when someone gets recognized for taking a risk, being courageous, trying out something new, admitting that this isn't really something I'm innately passionate about, that's really freeing. And it builds that trust. It builds some more of that psychological safety that I mentioned earlier.